Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big, big, big warm welcome to Nile Rodgers.
Nile, we are so proud that you're here. We are really proud. I mean, he is a hero, an icon, an amazing. He stands for our century, and not only for our century, also for the last century. He combines so many. No, I'm older than you, so don't worry. But you know, he made music we all rely on. And we owe him a big, big, big clap. And thank you, Ralph Simon, for being so instrumental and so important to bring him here.
Yes.
Good. I have to be a double Steffi because I'm jumping from this stage, and you know, next year you will have an avatar for me. Nile, the floor is yours. Thank you for coming. We love you. Thank you so much. We love your music.
Steffi, bitte schön. Thank you so much. It's just always such a treat. So, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I'd mentioned just a little while ago was Niall had said that what's important when you're writing a song and developing your material is to infect it with DHM. Can you just explain what DHM is?
Oh, he's making it sound heavy. It's simple. It's basically it's the DNA of a song. DHM stands for the deep hidden meaning. And the reason why I say that is because every song I've ever written has always started with a non-fictional premise. The problem is that I can't completely tell the story with non-fiction. So sometimes I have to add fictional situations to make the story complete. But I always think that the essence of the story is important, and that's what the DHM is. So if I don't know what the story really means, how the hell do I explain it to you? I need to know what I'm really feeling when I write. So if I write something that sounds silly, like, you know, aw, freak out. Well, the truth of the matter is, aw, freak out. I'm not clever enough to write aw, freak out. What happened was we went to Studio 54 one night, and we were invited by Grace Jones, whom we had never met before. And she called us up, cold call, and we didn't know what Grace Jones's speaking voice sounded like. We just thought that it sounded like the time to get down on your knees. So we thought that was it. But instead, she speaks like a cross between Marlene Dietrich, Bela Lugosi, and Bob Marley to us, to our ears. So she calls up and she says, "So darlings, what I want is for you to come to Studio 54, knock on the back door and tell him you're personal friends of Miss Grace Jones." Now, that's what it sounded like to us. We never heard her before. We kicked on the back door, and we finally got their attention, and we said, "We are personal friends of Miss Grace Jones." And the guy slams the door in our faces and says, "Oh, fuck off." So we went home and we wrote, "Aw, fuck off, fuck Steve, for fuck off, aw, fuck off, fuck Studio 50. So anyway, that's a very simple explanation of deep hidden meaning. So when you hear, so when you hear the rest of the lyrics, you realize that we were talking about something very real, the experience of being in Studio 54 to us was a positive one. It's just that that night when the guy slammed the door in our faces, he made us go, oh, fuck off. We're going to say what he said. But, of course, that was 2 years before hip-hop. Didn't really work. So, but anyway, that's...
Just amazing, and Le Freak becoming such a big hit. But what is really interesting, Nile, is that you've always been and chosen to touch the souls of millions that you'll never meet. And what I mean by touching the souls of millions, you'll write a song, the song will radiate outwards, not just North America, but around the world. And if it's a hit, as you've had now on many occasions, and we'll go through some of these during the course of this session, the millions that you've touched, whose songs have got meaning, have got relevance, really shape people's lives, which is really the role and the job of a great songwriter.
Yes. You want me to extrapolate?
No. But I mean, when you write a song, you're talking about the DHM, the deep hidden meaning, and then eventually when the song gets into the charts or on Spotify or wherever it is streaming like crazy, it's always great to know that you're touching people with that message in the lyric that has got relevance. It's not just about, yes, got a groove, yeah, you can really feel the beat and all that stuff, but how does it affect people's lives? Does it give them a sense of optimism?
So it depends. I mean, think about this. If you and I, right, same people, we got like minds to an extent, we go to a museum and we look at a piece of art. And it gives us different feelings. And it's okay that we have different points of view and we interpret different things. I always laugh because my mother, my own mother, no matter how many times I told her, Mom, you're singing the wrong lyrics. She says, what are you talking about? I've been singing this for years. That doesn't mean that you are right. You've been singing the wrong thing for years. And if you listen to Le Freak in its entirety, since we started with that, it clearly is a song about Studio 54 and having a good time. Have you heard about the first lyric? Have you heard about this new dance craze? Listen to us. But my mom goes, just come on down to the 5th floor. I said, Mom, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's just come on down to 54 and find your spot out on the floor. Oh, freak out. No way. She's not changing it. Not changing it. Sang it. No, that's not what you're saying. Mom, I wrote the song. That is what I'm saying. But for her, coming down to the 5th floor must have had some kind of meaning. And I didn't lead her life, so maybe something happened on the 5th floor of some building and whatever. But the fact that she liked it and she loved it, but still would argue over the composer. I was like, well, that's what art is. It's in the ears and the eyes and the touch and the feel of the people who appreciate it and experience it. And I remember I was with a great friend of mine. He had this massive exhibit in New York City. Everybody was going to see this thing. And I remember standing there with him one day, and one of the patrons was so happy. They walked over to him and said, I finally figured it out. And he looked at him and went, what? And he said, this is an artist who would make these, I guess, these traveling cathedrals, and he would use the shipping containers to build the structures. And this guy walked up to him and said to the artist, he finally figured it out. And he looked up at the shipping containers and says, every third shipping container has a 7 in it. And my friend looked at him and said, yeah? And he said, isn't that the essence of this whole exhibit? And my friend looked at him and said, no, no, it's about the animals and the elephants and the people swimming and nature and blah, 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 and my love and these animals, we exploit them. I'm doing this to give them, and it was like a whole thing. And the guy looked so disappointed because he felt that the artist was lying to him, like my mom. He felt like he was lying to him. He didn't understand the deep hidden meaning of that exhibition at all. He thought it was some coded message instead of what was directly in front of his face.
So Niall, just over the years and the many songs that you've written, we'll just touch on a few. And in fact, with our sound here today, what we'll do is just play a few 10, 15 seconds of a few songs, because some of you, I don't know who, might not know of Niall's prodigious background or his writing. But Niall, when I think of you and think of some people that you really admire, people like Peter Gabriel, the great musician and writer, people like the late Quincy Jones, who was just such a towering presence, or someone like Jacob Collier, a young fellow from England who's now doing great and in fact was discovered by Quincy Jones and just an incredible musician. And those are obviously people that you've known, met, and so forth. But you yourself are in this really hallowed area where you've been proving the consistency of your creativity and your writing now in many ways. So I was going to ask if we can just play just a few seconds so that we can just add some musical seasoning to what we're doing here today. Can we, where is our sound chap? Oh, he's somewhere. Oh, there he is. Okay. You just want to hit on those titles that we spoke to you about? Let's just do 10 seconds of each so that we just get a feel.
She freak out. Freak out.
Okay.
She freak out.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Let's go to the next one. Next one. Okay, so the interesting thing about that is Queen listened to that song, Freddie Mercury during his time, and from that wrote Another One Bites the Dust, which meant that they heard that song.
Freddie didn't do that, no. He may have written Another One Bites the Dust part of it, but John Deacon was in the studio with me when I did Good Times.
Is that right?
Yes.
Thanks for correcting the history.
We were out partying all night. A lot of the times I would say to people, because of Studio 54, I'd say, hey man, let's go to studio. They thought I meant to the studio. So we went to Studio 54, got drunk, hung out all night, and went directly from Studio 54 to the power station. And I had played Good Times for the band. Bernard was late, and I was in there jamming with everybody, and we were playing that. Now, you go.
I got it. Well, I'm so glad you corrected history, but the fact of the matter is that you were still the stimulus for
Yes.
what then led to something that was a further sonic imprint for the world. So very interesting throughout this. But now just looking at some of the hits that you've had, Upside Down with Diana Ross, one of her biggest hits in her career, looking at work that you've done with the B-52s, with Lady Gaga, with Coldplay, with Christina Aguilera, with Beyonce. Recently you did a song called Shabuzi, or you worked on something?
No, Shabuzi's an artist.
An artist, exactly. Get so nervous here, of course.
It's okay. Well, you should meet my mom. No, I'm just...
The Grammys that you've won, 3 Grammys for Get Lucky from the Daft Punk work that you did.
That's right, correct.
And you've been the chairman of the Songwriters Hall of Fame for some time, really important. And a Lifetime Achievement Award that you've also won.
Yes.
You have been honored in so many interesting ways. Now, those of you who play a musical instrument, when you sit down and you try and compose something new and you think, well, let me try and write something like ... That's not easy to do. And then to do it and then to be able to go into the studio and to perfect the confection and the concoction is really quite difficult to do. Yes. So, Nile, another one of the songs, let's just take a look at Get Lucky, because that's a relatively recent hit that you've had. Can we just go to Get Lucky and just play a little bit of that, because I want Nile to just show one of the things about the underlying rhythmic structure of that piece.
Like the legend of the phoenix.
Now, of course, you did this with...
All ends with beginnings. What keeps the planet spinning? The force from the beginning. Love.
This chorus is so great. You hear it once, and it just infects you.
Who we are. So let's raise the bar and our cause to the stars. She's up all night to the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night.
That's where that came from.
We're up all night to get
Okay,
some.
so just to give, I mean, you think about that, everyone was really bopping around, you're moving their heads and all that stuff. To create that, how do you do that? What secret sauce do you put into your veins to make yourself come up with something like that, perfect it in the studio, and really make it touch the millions of people around the world that you'll never see?
That part I don't know about, but but coming up with it is this exactly what happened. I mean, to the letter. Daft Punk came to my apartment. Oh, the funny part is that the saga really starts 20 years before that. They come to New York City to do a listening party, and they had a song that I just thought was amazing, Da Funk. And so I went to the listening party, and while I was there, they told me, now, they didn't look anything like the robots. They walked over to me and said, yeah, we're the guys from Daft Punk. And we quietly dedicate this album to Chic, especially your partner, Bernard Edwards. So my partner had just died like about a year or so before that. And I took it as a compliment, and it was nice, but I really wanted to hear where they were coming from. Also, I didn't really want to visit the horrible feelings every time I think about it. It makes me depressed. But anyway, so I hung out with them. We had a great time, really. First time we ever met, we had a blast. So then, every time I went to France, I tried to hook up with them. And of course, you know, in 20 years, how many times do you think I went to France? A lot. Every single time, this is the truth. Every time I went to France, somebody was on strike. And if the pastry makers are on strike, the trains don't run. If the trains don't run, it almost became a running joke. Hey guys, guess what? I'm in Saint-Tropez. Can we hook up? We're in Marseille. Everybody's on strike. We don't know how to get there. So this went on and on for 20 years. Now they come to America, and of course America they've gotten rid of the unions, blah, blah, blah. It's like horrible. It's like a country that's nothing like when I was a kid. So of course we weren't on strike. We don't on strike for anything. They called me up. I invited them to my apartment. They said that they wanted to play demos. And I said, I don't want to hear demos. I make music in the studio, especially if somebody else wrote it. I want to have that moment where I know that I tap into the groove and tap into the vibe. So they just hung out with me for a while. And then they said something that really touched me. They said they wanted to make an album as if the internet never existed.
Wow, that's interesting.
Now, let me explain to you what that means and what that meant to me. See, that sounds ambiguous. What does that mean? Those dudes, they get it. It's what we call band speak, B-A-N-D, speak, band logic, never ever to be confused with actual logic. I knew what they meant was, we want a record that sounds like a band going into the studio and playing, which is what they got. They got human beings. So I created my own Daft Punk scenario. I said, oh, human after all. The robots have evolved, blah, blah, blah. They want band members. They want people that they can say, do this, do that, do this, not just two guys at home working. So I get to the studio, I listen to the first track, which is all I was going to play, was one track. I listen, and I say to Thomas, I say, you know, you're standing in the exact spot Bernard Edwards was standing in when we cut our first hit record. And he went, what are you talking about? We know everything about Chic. You cut everything at the power station. I said, no. We cut our first record at Electric Lady. Then we got an album deal, and then we cut everything at the power station. But the first record was called Dance, 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 Yowza, Yowza, Yowza. And that record, the power station was being built. So even though Bob Clearmountain was the engineer, yes, but the power station, none of us had really moved in yet. And we got a hit record, and you know, it takes a while for the record to get released and it
Get on the radio.
Right. By the time it became a hit, Power Station was built, so we were the first band to record at the Power Station.
Amazing.
And we had Bob Clearmountain, so we did everything there. And he was blown away that we did that at Electric Lady. So he said, this was great. So Thomas said, how did you make Chic records? So he played the song for me, which they called a demo, but of course I don't call it a demo. I would say, play the song for me. They played it. I wrote out a chart, and then I say, and I meant no disrespect, because I know everyone on there, all my friends. I said, can you please turn all those guys down and just let me play the drums? And then I made up 3 parts. Oh, because they insisted that I bring the plexiglass guitar with me. So I played the first part, the rhythm part, something like, now I'm bullshitting now, I'm just going off a little bit, but something like that. Woo, really? But then the main thing was I picked up the plexiglass guitar and went, and that was it. So Pharrell wasn't with us. So I would go, right, of course, D. And that was it. That's we're up all night to get lucky. So what happened was Pharrell wasn't with us. It was just me, Guiman, and Thomas. So I played that, and they loved it so much, they said, hey, can you do that to this? So then I went, what was the other one? I can't quite remember. Lose Yourself to Dance, then and then after I did that, then they said, can you do that to this one? See, remember, I was reading a chart, so I said, so then they said, can you do that to this one? So I played Get Life Back to Music, and they doing double stops. Now, I don't remember that one, but that kind of thing. And they said, can you do it? I went, wait a minute, guys, I came to play one song, and I got to go. So I actually did all 3 of those songs and played. So on Get Lucky, I actually have 3 parts. I have the first rhythm part, then a secondary rhythm part, and then also the plexiglass part doing the do. I did all 3 of those songs in about 2 hours because that's the thing. I wanted to, no, thank you, no.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, what you saw and what you heard right there is really part of the architecture of intellectual and musical thinking about how you create something. And when you think of those songs that have affected your life and have given you emotional resonance, it might just be this kind of incredible creativity and creation that actually stimulates it. Niall, I mean, this has really been the way that you've always worked. You spend a lot of time in the Turks and Caicos Islands when you're looking to just chill out and relax with your life partner. And something might just come to you walking on the beach, which really is the gift of being a songwriter. So what you just saw, ladies and gentlemen, is really the creative process, really in its unformulated work. Really just great that you showed that.
Yeah, it's, you know, the thing is that I wake up every day except for the last couple of days, which is weird. Today I woke up with, you won't believe this. So it's never really related to anything. Somehow I wake up with honestly, from something, I might wake up with a Love Supreme or something like that, if I'm lucky. But
John Coltrane, Love Supreme.
Yeah, most of the time I wake up with something like this. This is what I woke up with today. We are the Merry Musketeers. We've got a lot between our ears. It was ridiculous. And that happens to me, I promise you, every single day, except it didn't happen yesterday and it didn't happen 2 days ago. But what's interesting about that is that it just shows me that music is such a part of me, and it's what my music tutor, my jazz tutor, used to talk to me about, a process called internalization, that this stuff has become a part of me. I can't get it out of me, and I don't know when it's going to pop up. And I usually can turn "We Are the Merry Musketeers" into a song that might be relevant in the world of grown-ups.
So now, you've been busy writing some Broadway musical works, which you've been working on. You've written for video games.
Yeah.
You are scoring orchestral.
Halo 2.
Halo 2, that's right.
Yeah.
You've also been working on developing soundtracks for movies.
Yes.
And so these are all elements. And what I thought at this particular point, I'd love to introduce onto the stage 2 people that will join us, because one of the big things that you've been centrally involved with is the development of your foundation called the We Are Family Foundation. Can we just play just a few bars of We Are Family so we can just set up the stage and the seats for the 2 guests that are going to join us? Eine Sitzbleck. Eine Sitzbleck. So, of course, those of you that already know this particular melody and know the lyrics, I see you nodding your heads as if, you know, this is like a second skin to all of you, which obviously it seems like. I mean, it's just great because we're going to be joined by...
Sorry.